I have an old drill battery here. It has 5 of these individual lithium batteries. Took one out because it's deader than a doornail. Has no voltage at all. But the other 4 are still reading normal voltage. The charger will not accept this battery, and that's why, because the voltage is too low. Because one of the cells isn't doing its part. I'm going to show you how you can replace a cell in a bad battery. And also these wraps aren't doing too good either. Got some cool looking wraps here to redo the batteries with, and the little insulator things. First, what we need to do before we start, we need to make sure we get the polarity right so we don't screw anything up. So I have this card here. This represents each of the batteries, and I'm going to go with the voltmeter and figure out the polarity for each battery and write it. See, this one already did its negative. We're going to write them on there with the marker, so when we wrap them, we know where exactly they go. And I'll also probably do something like this. I'll mark the battery here, and then I'll mark it there, but I won't use the marker. I'll use different colored paints to do that. I'll just get some acrylic paint, different colors, and all these will be color coded, so they'll all go back in the right spots. Because unfortunately, gonna have to break all the solder joints off of here to be able to put those stupid wraps on. And you gotta be real careful when you do this. You don't want to short out the battery. Turn the battery around. You see right here, there's a center hole. That's where you want to touch with your voltmeter points on each side. You don't want to touch anywhere else. And see how these 2 plates are separate? This one's negative, so that means this one's positive. You don't want to touch those 2 together, especially with lithium batteries. So you try this at your own risk, because these suckers can blow up on you. Hopefully you can read that voltmeter screen. 3.72, that's a normal voltage for the cell. And I know that's positive, so I'm going to write positive here. The positive one. If you turn over the battery, if you put this on the way it's supposed to go, like this, you can see right here, negative, so this one is negative. When you turn it over, see it's marked negative already. And then it finishes here with the positive, so let's carefully check the next battery. Okay, see that? Positive, negative. Write it down. You can see here there's some discoloration. The cells are leaking a little bit, but they still work. This is an old battery, so I don't really care. I got a free cell from a friend of mine, so it's not a big deal, and the wraps were a few bucks. So I figured it's worth trying to restore this battery, get a little more life out of it if I can. Do the next one. That's positive, negative, runs that way, so negative, positive, negative, positive. Then it's going to be negative, positive. So, problem is they're connected together, so it's going to be hard to get the voltage on this one. And the plates end here again. You can try to bend this a little bit so you only get the reading from the battery itself. I can tell that's positive because of the way the cell looks. .7, 3.73, The next one should be exactly the same as the one before it, positive, negative. Could actually get it reading here, put this here, touch here, because the other cell's not in there. Try to only touch the battery, not the metal part that connects the two. Here it doesn't matter because the battery's not in there right now. .73. Now that you got that down, you can start color coding them. Take the paint, put some here, and then put some here on the battery. And you're going to have to redo this when you take the wraps off so you know where the colors go. Get another color now. Actually, make this easier. You can do orange on both sides as long as it's on the same cell. So when you put them back in, they'll line up like that. Orange and orange. And then I got like a turquoise color here. Do it that same thing there on the other side. Then just repeat that with the other two cells with two different colors. Got all the batteries color coded. See, they're all color coded. Now you have to remove the cells. Now I'm looking at it in this plate here. I might be able to get the new wrap on without having to remove this one. And I can leave this one on too. Carefully bend it. And you gotta bend here to get this off around the battery so that you can get the wrap on there. Remove the wrapper from the battery, but okay. Make sure you rewrite the polarities on the battery itself before you take off the wrapper. Replacement I have for the bad cell, it shows positive and minus on it. I don't know why the factory batteries don't. That's kind of stupid. That's important. Do not bend this at all because you don't want this to touch and short it out once we take off the rest of the wrapper. Otherwise you might have some fireworks. I ended up removing the plate because it's just too much of a hassle to get it on there properly. There's the new one. I'm drawing out how the batteries go on each plate, so I know there's two on each plate here, one on the plate there. Then that final one is just one. Just gonna pull this one off, break the solder joint. There's the cell. Pop open the wrap like this. Then stick the battery inside. To about there, where there's a little bit of clearance in between. Turn on the hair dryer. So do it like that, but don't have the dryer on it for too long because you don't want to get this battery too hot. Repeat that process for all the other batteries. Ready to solder the battery back together. Got this stuff here. It's called tabbing wire. Tabbing. Got this on eBay. This is nickel. And this is supposed to be easy to solder together onto a battery. First, what you got to do is make sure you got your diagrams here. I have this card that I wrote out. We're going to do each of these one at a time. And each one you do, carefully connect the two batteries together with this wire here. And if you see any sparks at all, stop because something's not right. I wrote this diagram out here so I know these first two batteries have to be connected right here. They have to be connected with one piece of wire. And then up here, the next two are connected with another piece of wire. And then this one here goes up to the front on that circuit board. Over here, these two are connected together. And then these two are connected together as well. And then this one runs up to the front with the circuit board. Get your soldering flux and put it on each point on the battery. Get your solder on there so that way the tabbing wire will be able to solder to it. That's one. There's another one. You don't need a lot of soldering for this. And you want to do it quick because you don't want to heat up these cells too much. This one's going to be a little tricky because it's got this original, which was actually welded on. Flip it over. Flip it over, do the same thing on this side. Before we start, we need to make sure that all the polarity is correct. First battery, negative, negative, positive. Okay, and then the next one, negative, positive. That's good. And the next one, positive, negative, okay. The next one, negative, positive. And then the final one, I didn't write it on here, the bad cell, negative, positive. Cut off a small piece of the tabbing wire. We only need to connect these two cells here. First, touch them together. Make sure there's no sparks, so nothing's shorted out. Cut a short piece off. These two here we're going to solder together first. You might have to hold down the wire with something as you solder it. I'm going to put some flux on this wire too. And you're going to carefully get the solder iron and press onto it to melt the solder. Start with the first battery. Might take a minute to heat up. Once it heats up and then it drops down, solder melts, take it off and let it harden. Do the same thing on the other battery, negative terminal. But be very careful so you don't slip and drop all the batteries. Got those soldered together. This one goes here at the end. So far so good. That one was already there, that's original. That one ended up not coming off, I didn't need to take it off. These two have been redone with the nickel tabbing wire. Now I have to connect these two here, positive and negative. To complete the setup, and then just have to solder this one on, and then we can test the battery. See if it will actually work in the charger again. First check it, make sure there's no sparks, so you know nothing's shorted out. Touch them, nothing? Okay, let's connect. Now let's connect them together. The positive solders faster than the negative, and be careful when you do it, because sometimes when the solder melts and goes down, it'll move this wire, and then it's not lined up for the other battery. Just hold it, put some light tension on it, and when the solder melts, just let the gravity pull it down. Very important when you connect the last battery, make sure this is not connected, just in case something's shorted out. So that way you won't cause any problems. Good enough. Need to let these batteries cool down before you put them on the charger. Now the moment of truth. This is the scary part here. We're going to find out if everything is connected properly. If we touch this and there's a spark, then something's wrong. Use these alligator leads and step back. That's a good sign. Nothing's happening. Alright, let's go ahead and connect them together. Solder this last one. And then we can flip it over and test for voltage. Very careful, very important. Do not let this touch that. Otherwise you might have some fireworks. What I'm going to do, one of my cards, fold it in half, stick it in between so that limit the chances of that happening. And now let's solder this last one on. This one we're going to need something to hold it because it's going to get really hot. Use a pair of pliers. That's it. There is a risk that the heat will destroy the cells. That's probably why they actually weld this on. They use arc welding with electricity because it's very fast, so the batteries won't be able to get heated up. Now what we need to do is take that tape off before we reassemble the battery. Put this on here like this and you can see, okay, that's positive and that's negative. Get the voltmeter and see what we got. Good, we're getting over 20 volts. Let me show you. We're getting 20.8 volts, 20.7, 20.8 volts. That's really good. So now this battery should work in the charger now. The charger should detect it and charge it. Make sure you put tape, some kind of tape here, over the connections, just like it had originally. You got this piece of rubber, it goes over the batteries like this. This is the bottom. You don't want to put too much tape, and you want to take off that tape like I had wrapped here, because there's a fan in the charger that blows through here, and it needs to cool these batteries. If it's not able to blow air in there properly, it won't charge the battery. It'll stop charging it. And this part goes on here. See right here where it's cut, it lines up with that. You also have to get these special bits. They're star bits, but they have a hole in the center. It's one of those stupid security screws. You can get those on eBay. That thing was like $5. When you got that in like this, actually missing put the spring here. This part goes in like that, see? Carefully put it on. Might have to play with it. And you got to make sure your soldering is really tight in here because there's not a lot of space between where the battery posts are and this plastic casing is. Carefully press the two pieces together. It's connected right because you can see a little post here where the charger goes. Make sure the notch is lined up here with this part. And then carefully press them together. Make sure that you don't damage the tape here and expose any of those wires. Push down one side a little bit and then push down the other side. Okay, almost got it. Got the battery back together. Gonna put it in the drill. I'm going to put it in the drill and let's see if it works. Flashlight works. The drill's working. Keep your fingers crossed. Let's take it to the charger and see what happens. The charger still won't accept it, probably because of the stupid chip in there. You can buy those online and replace it, but it's a pain because you got to do a lot more soldering. But that's it. That's how you can rebuild your drill battery. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Click the notification bell. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, leave a comment.